So I think just having like a framework of what like your average choral director who has no experience in vocal percussion, if they want to start that, I think the VP might get in the way sometimes, even though it's
Yeah.
not necessary.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say to them to get them like in terms of like how to instruct someone in being a good vocal percussionist?
Totally. And to that point too, I mean, there are other, pop styles that a lot of choir directors are familiar with too. You've got a vocal jazz group or a show choir or something, and none of those use vocal percussion either,
Yeah.
for the most part, maybe show choir here and there. But you're right, it is something that is very unique to the contemporary a cappella thing along with the vocal bass singing. So, well, the first thing, it's not related to sounds, but the first thing I always tell directors is teach your vocal percussionist to be a great percussionist first,
Yeah.
right? Because this is the thing that I think a lot of beatboxers forget, particularly if they're coming from the beatbox world, which is less about supporting an ensemble and more about like doing a routine, being flashy, like be doing it all yourself. Really developing rhythmic ability, and that's metronome practice. That's not trying to do too much, right? That's like kind of keeping it simple. I always tell groups like, 10 times out of 10, I'd rather have somebody go do do ka do 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 ka than where it's just like there's nothing supportive about that. There's nothing useful about that to an ensemble.
Sounds like some of the junior high auditions I heard.
Yeah, and that's the thing you got to learn, right?
Not
Like,
Zane. Zane is a percussionist in band, which helps, and then he has some really
Yeah.
good sounds already.
Yeah, that always helps when they already have that foundation. But yeah, but encouraging that and letting kids know like you don't have to show off and and that your role is supportive. That a lot of the time if you're doing your job, I won't even notice you. You know what I mean? Like that's really the goal. But with sound specifically, yeah. So obviously putting stuff on YouTube, getting them on YouTube, and like there's so much tutorial stuff that's available there. I mean, I always teach the basic sounds. I can run through them real quick just so everybody's got them here. Let's do it. So. Hi-hat, right? Whenever I go for a workshop, I would say, what are the three basic parts of a drum kit? Kick, snare, hi-hat, right? Hi-hat's the easiest. TS sound, tss, 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 right? And then I go into a little bit more depth about how to find that tss, tss, that kind of ring in your voice. I'll skip that for now. Kick drum, we got the voice kick drum, which is just a very comfortable low. And then you get the tss, tss. But of course that uses your voice. So if you're a higher voiced person, you won't get as low a timbre. So we can go to the unvoiced kick, which I always teach as you say boo, like a scary ghost, boo. You take away the ooh, the voicing of it, and you just whisper it. Boo, boo. At this point, you want to make sure you're not saying poo. We don't want poo. Poo, poo. We need to make sure we're staying with that B. Poo, poo. And then you just take away the whisper at the end. Poo, 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 poo. And then you're just getting that really solid kick, right? Kick, hi-hat, snare, right? Drum that sits right here, we hit it. There's two versions of it. The easy one's a hard K, like King Kong, and then you can change your mouth shape. You can kind of put that through any vowel to give a different timbre to it. I like kind of an so then you get a or the most advanced sound of the basics, what we call the PF snare, right? That's a P and an F. Exactly. Right? So we got a P, and now we do want the poo. Poo, poo, poo. We want that P. We put that through an angry, like a F, like an angry cat. And I always have people do them separately. I have them go, and then I take one and drag it into the other. And then you just shorten that distance slowly, slowly, slowly till you get. You get those sounds. So those are the basics. There's a lot of other dimensions and levels to it, but that's what I would tell whenever I'm sitting down with somebody doing it for the first time. That's the first 5 minutes of my VP lesson. Follow me for more. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah.